Namaskar. The main impediment towards enlightenment is the force of darkness, force of ignorance. And that force expresses itself through 6 enemies of the mind and 8 fetters of the mind, so-called Sadripu and Astapashu. And I will have already explained the enemies. They are like beasts within us, the desires. It is desire, anger, attachment, greed, pride, jealousy. And actually those beasts, they rule our world, unfortunately. But now this is the situation. They are the main motivational forces behind our actions. In spiritual practice, they are a very great obstacle, and they are called enemies because they keep the mind engaged with extremely limited and extremely temporal objects. And thereby, by keeping the mind engaged with the temporal and limited, they do not allow us to discover the subtler and nobler dimensions of human existence. They do not allow us to discover infinity. They do not allow us to discover spirituality. And when the enemies are there, when they vibrate our psychic arena, they make the mind so crude that I am not able to perceive. It's just like the water. If the water is very is very stormy, then the reflection of the moon is unclear. So when the mind becomes stormy, then I am not able to perceive the moon. I am not able to perceive the Supreme Consciousness. Spirituality is with everybody, but hardly, not even 1%, 0.0000001% of the population is able actually to enjoy the spiritual dimension of life. And you are watching these videos, it means you have that spiritual thirst, so you are very actually fortunate. And it means that your mind is to some extent attained some kind of calmness, and there is some spiritual need. Somehow you feel that spiritual need. It is because those enemies of the mind, they were somehow brought under control. You should not destroy the enemies of the mind, but rather you should transform them, transmute them, turn them into the enemies should become friends, beasts should become gods. And I explained the process in the last video. And in short, the 2 things are there. One, you have to abstain, you have to stay away from the object of the desire. For example, if you are prone to drinking, you like alcohol very much, then don't go to the places where people are drinking. Don't associate yourself with the drinking people. Stay away from that object, and then day by day the desire will be diminishing. After 1 month you will find that half of the desire is gone, and after 1 year another half is gone. So the desire will slowly evaporate if you are not stimulating it, if you are not triggering it. And also at the same time you need to work internally within your mind to elevate your mind. The mind which is subtle is attracted towards the subtle pabula. Pabula is a Latin word which means the food of the mind. So when you are subtle, you want subtle things. When you are noble, you want noble things. You want noble motivations. You don't want to be with the crude desires and with the crude objects. When I started to meditate, I asked my Dada, my teacher of meditation, Dada, to meditate, do I have to stop drinking, smoking, eating meat? I see you are such a holy people here. Do I have to become just like you to meditate? Will you give me meditation if I still want to drink and if I still want to smoke? He said, no problem. You just have to do meditation twice a day. You have to promise that you are going to do. I said, okay, I will do, no problem. And then I started to do. In half a year, I remember that day, I was meditating, and I felt very strong, very deep desire coming from within my heart, within my core. that I want to live a pure life. I don't want to drink, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to eat meat. And it was completely natural. My mind has changed, my desires have changed. So this is the way. Do meditation and abstain. Keep distance with the objects. If you have weakness for something, you stay away from that. The desire will be diminishing. And this is the subtle portion of Tantra. Apart from enemies, there is another group of emotions. There are 8 of them, and they are not inborn. The enemies are inborn. You are born with lust. You are born with anger. You are born with greed. But fetters are imposed, they are given to us by society. In the process of socialization, the parents give, for example, the parents give the children their fear. Don't go there, there is a ghost there. And the child starts to be afraid. Before that, he was not afraid of darkness, but now he is afraid of darkness. So those emotions, they are given to you by society. What for? To control the beasts within. The beasts, actually they are ruling the world. The desire, the greed, the anger, the pride, they are main motivations. If they will not be there will be no capitalism. There will be no, the economic system is not going to work, because the people will only have what they need, but not what they want. And then the system, everything will be collapsing. So, well, to some extent they are useful, but if they are let free, then they will tear apart the world and they will ruin your life. So we need to transform them into deities. And before we have transformed them, we need to control them through the fetters of the mind. That's why the society imposes the fear on us. For example, if you remove all the police from the streets, then what will happen? There will be lots of crime. In the societies which have progressed along the path of civilization, they have become intellectual, they have become cultural. Even you remove all the police from the streets, still the situation will be the same. But in the barbaric societies, when you know that there are lots of passions within, then there has to be force, the controlling force, and there has to be fear. So social progress is also like that. You impose the fear, you impose the discipline, you create the law imposition, but at the same time you promote the education, you promote the cultural development of the people. So if you remove that fear factor, then there will be no pandemonium then in the society. As a spiritualist, I told you what happens. You meditate and your beasts, they become transformed into the gods. So you are not anymore in need of 8 fetters. So you have to overcome them. 8 fetters are shame, fear, doubt, hatred, complex of descent, complex of culture, prestige, and hypocrisy. Those are the 8 fetters. Those are the forces that bind our beasts. And also they bind our spirituality. When I want to develop spiritually, when I want to do something good, the same fear, the same shame do not allow me to actually progress. So Tantra sadhana is fight in 2 directions. One is internal fight, substitute the crude thinking with the subtle thinking. The best way is to repeat the mantra. And another one is external fight. External fight is shattering of the bondages. Enemies, stay away from the enemies. Fetters, go towards the fetters. Confront them. If you have fear, go and confront your fear. I have the fear of hates. I don't like to climb the 20th floor and come on the roof and look down. You know, when I look down, I just feel like I feel very terrified. But then when we were doing some constructions here, and we were constructing one of our houses, it was 9 meters tall, and my students, my brothers, they were telling me, Dada, are you avadhuta? Avadhuta, as avadhuta, I'm supposed to be like, you know, perfect person, without fear, without shame. And so, are you afraid of heights? I said, no, I am not afraid of heights, but actually I'm afraid. So I have to go up. They taunt me, actually. They provoke me. So I go up and I work on the 9 meter tall structure. And I am afraid. I am afraid. I look down and I feel very dizzy. But it is interesting thing that after 3 days, you just don't feel that anymore. And I found myself walking along the planks of wood. Just a small plank of wood. I'm just walking, and it is very elevated position. And when I look down, I don't feel anything. So fear is gone. So any kind of fear you remove by confronting it. I remember one very vivid experience in my life. I have admitted to one teacher of meditation that I have fear of darkness. And somehow I got this, because there were many stories in my childhood. You know, children, they tell different stories. And I was always terrified of darkness. Even I remember that was also one experience. As a child, I decided to go, and there was this, and I afraid very much of the graveyard. In my village, there was like a square in that village, and that square was former graveyard. So I knew that. And normally, the daytime we used to play in that. There are no more any signs. It just we know that there are some corpses there below the ground. And there is no sign of graveyard because it's very old. So daytime we are playing there. But in the night, one night, I decided to go there. So I went halfway, and then I turned back and I went home. I couldn't overcome myself. The fear of darkness was very strong. And then later on in my life, one teacher of meditation, when he heard that I do have that fear, so he told me, look, tonight, 12 o'clock in the night, go out, don't tell anybody. And especially don't tell your Dada, your teacher of meditation, that I told you to do this, because he's going to scold me. But if you believe me that I wish you well, you go in the darkness. You go to the graveyard. Go, sit there and meditate for half an hour. And to that graveyard, I had to go like at least 3-5 kilometers. You have to walk a long distance through the forest. It is not a city. We were in the forest. So I was a little bit fighting in my mind. Then I decided, okay, I will do. I was young, 18 years old. So I went. With each step, the darkness grew thicker. And I didn't have a torchlight with me. So I was kind of stumbling in the darkness. And I was moving, determined, I will reach that graveyard, I will sit and meditate there. So I came there, I was sitting. The imagination was drawing such a pictures, you know. Maybe I watched some horror movies like The Rising Dead and something like that. So I was sitting full of fear, full of, you know, stress. And I have meditated. There was a strong impulse to run away. I have overcome that impulse. And then I came home. But when I was going home, I was going not like a mouse. I was going like a lion. I am triumphant. I am not anymore afraid of darkness. And then the fear of darkness is gone. Now I can go anywhere in the dark. What's the problem? I walk through the forest and I feel very comfortable. There is no fear anymore. The fear was broken. Then next morning, he asked me, "Did you go?" I say, "Yes, I went." And then he took one banana. He said, "Okay, here is your prize." That was very sweet. I was feeling very, I was feeling very good that, I have overcome my fear. So this is the principle. You go and confront the fear. Same with the shame. Shame is an external imposition. The society believes that something is right, something is wrong. Society is many times mistaken. But still, you like to conform with society. You just like to do what other people do. And that is the shame. That is the feeling of shame. Because if you don't do, then people will dislike you. This is your fear. People will not love you. People will not accept you. If you live in that kind of paradigm, you can never express your authenticity. You can never express your originality. And then you are going to be bored, because you will always try to fulfill the expectations of the people. And that is betraying your authenticity. One time one man told me, he said that, "Dada, I was fascinated by your personality, because in my understanding, you're a little bit strange. I'm sitting and listening to your lecture, and I find he's a strange guy, but somehow he intrigues me. He attracts me due to some reason." And I realized why. Because you're not afraid of expressing yourself. You tell what you feel, and you behave as you feel. And I find it very fascinating, and I find it very interesting. So shame is external imposition. For example, if you're a member of the gang, and then the gang is going to rob and steal, and you feel in your heart, I shouldn't rob and steal. But if I don't do that, maybe they will believe that I'm not worthy man. They will not accept me, they will not love me. This is the shame. This is shame. So shame sometimes can lead you also into the darkness. And sometimes it will not allow you to go to the darkness. If you're in a good society, then shame is good. Because the good society imposes a certain standard of behavior. But if you are in the bad society, in the bad company, then shame is very bad. And you have to break that shame as soon as possible. How to break that shame? When I was young, actually I was born in Soviet Union, in the family of Soviet intelligentsia, the intellectual class. And somehow they had this notion that making money is a bad thing, and it was considered to be like lowest of the lowest jobs. If you're selling something, especially if you're working in a proper shop, is okay. Governmental shop, you're doing the job, and every job is okay. But if you're buying something for 1 ruble and you're selling something for 1.5 ruble, that was considered to be like, wow, very, very extremely bad and extremely shameful activity. So I have absorbed that cultural environment. And one time, my teacher of meditation asked me, he said, "Oh, you're not busy today. Take those goods, go and sell them." Sell where? Go anywhere, in the market, go and sell. No, Dada, I'm not going to sell. No, you have to go and sell. You want to eat, so you have to earn it. Go and sell. I thought, wow, my meditation teacher, he is such a low man. He has no moral at all. But I was a kind of his student to be a monk, and there is a rule that you have to obey your teacher, that you have to follow him. So I have to follow that rule, but he is pushing me towards something which I really consider to be almost immoral. And then luckily, one sister, she said, "Oh, you never sold anything. Let's go, I will help you." So we went to the market and we were selling things, and we were talking to people, we were laughing, and then we came home very happy with the money. And then my dad said, "Oh, you see, not so hard, very good." And then that complex was removed from my mind. I have confronted that shame. And then later on also he gave me, I was going to Sweden for a spiritual retreat. So he gave me some money, but that was not enough. I was under his care, so I was kind of dependent on him financially. He said, "I will give you this much money, and then the rest I will give you the bugs from India. There is some kind of toy. It's like a nut. You open the nut. It's like a box. You open that nut and there is some bug there in that nut." And he said, "I will give you 300 bucks and then you will sell them and you will make 300 bucks. You will make $300. And then, okay, I took those bugs and then I sat on the train, and there is one very long train, Trans-Siberian train. It goes from Vladivostok to Moscow, and it takes 7 days. So in the train, I was thinking, okay, if I'm to sell those bugs, the best place is to do it here, in the train. But maybe not today. And then tomorrow again, maybe not today. So almost the last day, the 7th day, okay, now is my last chance. So I went a little bit few bogies apart from my place, because I don't want people to see that I'm selling. Because the people around me already, they're kind of my family in that bogie, in that carriage. So I went 3 bogies away, and then I start to very how to say, in a very inconfident way, I start to say, "Have a look, I have a bugs from India, wonderful presents, and please buy, this is a very interesting toy." And somebody, "Hey, boy, come here. What you sell? Wow, so beautiful, so interesting. I will get 10 pieces. How much?" So I got some confidence, and then other people start to become interested. The big crowd around me. So I was selling. "This is your unique chance. You know, you have never seen such a nice toy. Buy for your kids." And I was coming with many creative sentences. So I sold all of them. And then I got my $300, and then I did what I need to do. And then from that moment, in my heart, in my mind, there was no complex anymore. I can buy, I can sell, there is no problem. So that is how you break your shame. And then there are many ways. It's like, for example, our students, they do this activity, the service activity. They feed the homeless people. Yeah, they cook the food, and they find the homeless, and they give that food to the homeless. And first time, also in myself, I felt, first time we went to feed the homeless, it is so hard to approach a human being. You see that he is homeless, but it's so hard to come and say, "Hey, buddy, would you like to eat something? Are you hungry?" You feel that I will say, "Are you hungry?" and he will scold me because why I'm thinking that he is a homeless, he has a dignity. So it is very hard to approach somebody and ask. And then, and also what others people will think about us. We are interacting with the homeless, we are friends of the homeless. So those kind of complexes exist in the mind. But when you start to interact with them, it's just like it becomes so easy. And you are not anymore, you just approach and you talk. And I remember I was extremely shy person, I was extremely shy. In my school years, I only had 2 friends, not because I didn't want to have more friends, but because I couldn't just communicate with anybody. That's why. And today I think I can communicate with anybody and everybody. It's just so easy. I can come in contact. just become friends with anybody. So easy, because the shame is not there anymore. I have become, I can proudly say to you that I have become shameless. Shameless. Maybe not completely, but to some extent I have become shameless. And then hatred. Hatred is also a thing. Hatred is when you don't know a person. Okay, same homeless people. You feel sort of aversion. You don't want to be with them. But when you come to them and you talk with them and you listen to their stories, you feel they're just like me. Just the man is unfortunate and I'm fortunate somehow. And you don't feel anymore this. There was this one saint, Saint Francis. So one time his disciple asked him, Francis, with all your love towards creation, do you have any hatred for anybody, any aversion? He said, yes, towards the lepers. I really cannot stand them. I feel so much aversion. Their smell, how they look. This is the only thing. Other people I love. And next day, they went out to the city and they hear the bell of the leper. And the Francis starts to move there. And the disciples say, hey, Francis, let's go other way. You don't like the lepers. He said, no, there is no other way. There will be lepers on every corner, just for us. And then the leper approaches. He looks very terrible, full of wounds. And then his fingers, they have been rotten and fallen out of the body. And the body emits the stench. So the Francis, he walks first without confidence. Then he starts to run towards that leper. And then he hugs that leper, he kisses his wounds, and then he goes down and then he kisses the earth. He said, you know, the Lord has come to me with the final test and I have passed it. Now I don't hate anything in this universe. I love everybody. So that you confront and then you overcome. So the hatred, when you come in touch with something, for a moment you feel aversion, but then it becomes normal. Of course you have to be clean, you have to mind the germs, the infections, and you should not be foolish, but you have to break these unnatural walls between us and other human beings. We should embrace everybody. Doubt. Doubt is also the same thing. It's also a fetter. Doubt is when I think that, should I do, should I not do? You break the doubt by making one step ahead. Either you will find out that I was right, or you will find out I was wrong. But you will not be in the doubt anymore. You will be clear. Some people, they spend in doubt entire life and they're not moving anywhere. So don't be in the doubt. Make one step ahead and you will find out very soon. You were making mistake or you were right. So test your hypothesis. And then there is Kula, Shila, the complex of culture. I feel that I come from a very, very special culture and my culture is right and all other cultures are wrong. So that's why I am not going to learn from other cultures. There is a religious complex like that. You know, I'm of certain religion and everything in my religion is right and everything in others' religion is wrong. You come closer to the other people's culture and you will find out actually that human culture is just one. There are not many cultures. There are many expressions, national expressions, geographic expressions, temporal expressions, but human culture is one. The main thing in our cultures is the same. We love the same, we feel hunger the same, we feel the same emotions, so we can understand each other. So, and then the same, there is a complex of descent, that, oh, I'm coming from a noble family, and these low-born people, I have nothing to do with them. Come to this low-born, so-called low-born people, break your complex. My guru, Sri Shanandamurti, from a childhood, he was like that. He was from a kind of, like a Brahman family, the kind of high caste in India. And then he used to play with the boy of the, so-called untouchable, so-called low-born. And then he invited him to his house, and they were playing together. And the mother, she was very unhappy that he brought such a boy to his house. And then she didn't say anything. She was good enough for that not to hurt that boy. But when he left, she said, look, this is not good. This is against our religion. You are bringing this low-born boy into your house. So now I have to purify everything. So she took the bed sheet and started to wash it. And then this small boy, who would be later become a great guru, he took the mattress also, and he brought and put in the water. And the mother is like, what are you doing? He said, well, mother, you said you need to purify. She said, but no need, just you sprinkle a few drops of Ganges water, that's enough. He said, no, mother, if you need to purify, you need to purify everything. So she felt this boy is really clever and very stubborn. And then he gave her the message that I'm not accepting these kind of things. I'm going to fight the casteism. This is on their own notion. It's actually hormonal. We feel towards our people, which we feel like they are our circle. No? We feel oxytocin, we love them. But those people whom we don't consider as our own, we feel aggressive towards them. The same oxytocin creates that. So we have to accept everybody as our own. And then, so this complex of descent it does not allow us to see all pervasive spiritual entity everywhere. If God resides in stone, why he cannot reside in so-called low-born men, in so-called uneducated men? Why do you think the God is not there? And if the God is there, why are you afraid of touch that man? So that is completely ridiculous, and it's completely man-made. It is not a divine decree. It has been solidified in the later ages of the Indian society. First, it was not rigid. The people were dividing according to their profession, but later on it has become rigid, and it has become a system of oppression, repression, and suppression. Then there is this mana, prestige. I am something, so I can only go with this type of car. If I am seen in that kind of little bit cheaper car, it will be insult for me. So that prestige also confront that. You go and be with the homeless, or you go and sweep the floor, and then let other people see that you are sweeping the floor, and you are doing some so-called very low job. So your prestige will be broken. As a monks, we go through a certain training. It is called SPT, Sadhana Pitta training. And one portion of the training is that you have to be silent. You cannot speak anything. You can only pronounce one word, Hari Om Tat Sat. It's one kind of mantra. And then you come to the house to beg. You have to go and beg. And then you just stay there like this, Hari Om Tat Sat. And you cannot say anything. You cannot explain yourself. You cannot say, oh, I'm undergoing training such and such, and still maintain your prestige. You just say, okay, I'm a beggar, Hari Om Tat Sat. And sometimes people react. They say, you are so young. Why don't you work? You nonsense. They don't know, we just do it for 1 week to break our ego. But then after that, you feel much closer to people and your prestige is gone. You're not anymore. You don't have that false kind of vanity. It is gone. So you confront it, remove it. Otherwise it is going to disturb your entire life. And then there is this hypocrisy, cunningness. Hypocrisy is the way to, actually is the emotion when we try to show a different face. We try to show a different face. Inside I feel one way, but outside I express a different way. Why? Because I believe that if I show my true face, you will not accept me, you will not love me. So I am actually afraid. It is also one expression of prestige. I am afraid to be myself. I am afraid that you will not accept me, you will not love me. Also through confrontation. I am like this. I am not holy, I am not saint. I am just like this. You take it or you throw it. Either you accept me or you reject me. But I don't have to lie the rest of my life. And hypocrisy you deal like this. First, two things are there to remove hypocrisy. One is that you try to improve your internal standard, so you're not ashamed of who you are. And then secondly, you try to make yourself simpler. Don't pretend to be something great. So you simplify your external appearance and then you sophisticate your internal standard. And then one day these two will meet and you will just become completely the same in your home, with your friends, with your colleagues, in the office of the president, with the homeless. You are just the same personality without any split, without any curvature, without any hypocrisy, without any lie. So simple to be yourself. You don't have to waste energy on maintaining a lie. And then it is a very spiritual state. Just being yourself. Whatever you are, I am for myself and for others. Same. So these are the 8 fetters of the mind. We confront them. The best way to confront them is through doing the service activities. We serve humanity and we remove our complexes. Just like I was telling you, I was very shy. I couldn't talk. Even my Dada, he said, I officially admit you are a hopeless student. You cannot be a public speaker. He told, because he tried. But I am so stuck. You know, I am so stuck. I cannot, I have so much fear, so much shame. I cannot. But then when he told me this, I thought, no, Dada, here you are wrong. I will prove you wrong. Then I trained myself. I did, and so many times I felt ashamed. So many times. I remember the first class, I put the posters outside in the city, and then I hoped that nobody is going to come for my class. But they came, 30 people. And the people, I was young, I was a boy practically, I was like 20, 21 years old. And then the people came, and established people, you know, they with the beautiful cars, with the very nice clothes. They came and they're sitting there looking at me. And I'm just so terrified. Then I start to speak something. Namaskar, I'm very happy to see you all. And then I'm stuck. There is emptiness, there is darkness in my mind. I'm just like, what to say? I don't know what to say. And then I was in hell. But then I just thought, okay, I will talk something, whatever, I will talk. Then I was talking. And then by the end of the class, actually next class, not many people came, only not 30, maybe 5 people came next class. But then I actually managed to inspire them to start meditating, and for many years they were meditating. And I asked one of those people, "So did you like yesterday's class?" He said, "Honestly, Dada, honestly, I understood nothing, but there was a nice atmosphere." So, and then confronting, always confronting, doing service, trying to help others. And by serving others, you get liberated from your own restrictions, own limitations. And then you find yourself in a state that you feel everything is possible. There is nothing impossible. You are rising, and you dare to do bigger and bigger tasks. Maybe you were not destined for that. Maybe you were supposed to live a very simple life. But if you are doing service, if you are trying to help others, and at the same time overcome your restrictions, then you are rising towards a greater destiny. And that is precisely the external, crude portion of Tantra sadhana. Yeah, I think this was 2 important classes, 3 actually. I spoke on enlightenment and liberation, then I spoke on the enemies of the mind, and now about the fetters of the mind. Just a summary: enemies, stay away and do sadhana, meditate. Stay away from the object, meditate to rise your consciousness, rise your mind. Fetters, go, jump into the darkness and fight and overcome it by the grace of Almighty. You will always find in these situations, actually now so many stories are coming to my mind, you will always find in this difficult situation a loving and kind hand is guiding you. You are always, like there is this one verse, one saying, you are never alone and helpless. The force that guides the stars guides you too. So in your attempt to do something good against your limitations, you will always find the grace and support from Supreme Consciousness. Thank you very much. I will appreciate if you write something in the comments. I will also appreciate if you also share these videos. I hope our channel can grow and more people can come in touch with these important ideas, because these ideas are really life-changing. Thank you. Namaskar.